HCTV Sports is supported by the Hastings Public House. Memories made local.
First goal of the year goes for the Raiders.
Oh, beautiful shot there. Nicely done. Gets the pin.
Oh, was that beautiful? Onside kick, and it's recovered by Hastings.
And he's rung up for strike 3.
Doblowy! Touchdown Raiders!
Hello everyone and welcome to Hastings High School as we get set for a girls basketball matchup here between the Hastings Raiders and the Mahtomedi Zephyrs here on HCTV Sports. We're in line for a fantastic game here. Tip-off just in a couple of minutes. I'm your announcer Owen Ely here with my broadcast partner and producer Hunter Pinkey.
We have a good one for you tonight, Owen. This has actually been rated one of the top games on MN Girls Basketball Hub tonight. This will pretty much decide the Metro East Conference. At least at the minimum, it will be a tie if Hastings wins. But if Mahtomedi gets this W, more than likely they will take it. We'll take a look at the Metro East Conference standings here in a minute. But I'm just curious for you, what do you think are your keys for tonight's game for the Hastings Raiders?
Well, I think it comes down to star power. I mean, you look at Mahtomedi, they have 4 players who average double digits points per game. And you look at Hastings, and obviously it's going to be about a team effort, but that big 3 of Emma Baker, Haley Strain, and Keegan McVicker primarily, I think it's going to come down to those 3 having a big game, staying out of foul trouble, which it's not really an issue with Hastings, but I think they need production from those players. I mean, we've seen at times all 3 of those players kind of get their own, but when they have, when 2 or 3 of them are on the court at the same time, they seem to have a wild amount of success.
Absolutely. Mahtomedi, one of the top teams in the state. They're averaging middle range 60 points per game. Hastings is averaging 54.4 points per game, roughly, I believe. So it should be a good one tonight.
We'll see if they can keep up with that season point per game, because this Raiders defense for a large part of the season has been stifling as we are underway here from Hastings High School. Raiders, first shot of the game, airballed it from the near side to the far side, out of bounds, and possession is going to stay here with Hastings. But as I was talking about this Raiders defense, as they'll turn the ball over, an easy bucket for Mahtomedi, trying to set the tone on this game right away. Hastings has been stellar defensively there. We just saw an excellent defensive play from Mahtomedi. That's Keegan McVicker. We'll be calling her name a lot tonight. A turnover in the near side corner as Mahtomedi looks to go up 2 possessions early. A bounce pass there in the short corner, pulling it back. A 3-pointer from dead center. A rebound taken there by Haley Strain, leading rebounder for this Raiders team, and they'll get their first bucket of the game. It's going to be a 3-pointer as they'll take the lead for the first time tonight. Dangerous pass, stays in bounds. A 3-pointer just a few inches short. And the Raiders will set up offensively. There's their primary ball handler, Keegan McVicker. Dip into the outside. Another turnover, turned over right back to McVicker. One-handed shove down low. An offensive rebound taken there by McVicker. And she'll put up a second bucket here for Hastings.
We've talked about it before. This offense runs through McVicker. She's averaging 15 points a game, while the next high scorer is Haley Strain with 12.2. I was looking at some of the player stats for Mahtomedi. They have 4 players averaging over 10 points a game, which that consistency is huge for your basketball team. And it's nice for the Raiders to have that early lead, and hopefully they can keep this momentum rolling throughout the rest of the game.
And we will get a whistle here. That is not something we have seen much of from the Raiders. We have seen some dry spells from them at times offensively, but certainly not turning the ball over, and points off of a turnover there, critical for the Zephyrs.
One of the things we've seen this Raider team run into is they do have a little bit of foul trouble occasionally. We've seen it a couple times this season where they get close to the double bonus in the first half, so that's something they got to be careful tonight. 1 foul on the night so far apiece.
And that was a reach-in foul there from Ella Cletty, which, you know, that's the price of admission when you try to get that many steals. All poked away, but that's going to be a foul on Anna Green, the sophomore. Again, a risky business. You either force the turnover or you get a foul in most of those scenarios. McVicker, little hesitation, puts up a 3 off of the far side of that back iron, out of bounds and turned over by the Raiders.
Talked about it before on previous broadcasts. This is a pretty young Raiders team as well. They only have 1 graduating senior, Natalie Kafflish. So even next season, they will not have to rebuild too much, which with the success they've had this season, that's a huge advantage to them moving forward.
Yeah, an incredibly young team, too, from Mahtomedi, so it's conceivable that the conference could come down to these 2 teams for, you know, at least a couple of years to come. A block from behind by Maya Wilston, the youngest player on that youth movement from Mahtomedi, just an 8th grader with a senior-sized block. Possession's going to remain here with Hastings. Little give and go, but it's turned over. Full speed ahead. 2 defenders. Blocked out of bounds. Don't believe a foul was called, although it probably should have been, but the ball is going to remain with Mahtomedi. We'll take another look at the turnover and the subsequent end of that play.
Not a lot there for the foul.
Long 3-point make there from number 3, Ella Frazier. Mahtomedi first to double digits, 6-point lead. Wagner, a pass, sent off to that far side, and a 3-pointer made by Keegan McVicker. Draws them back to 1 possession.
Get that one to go. Mahtomedi on the move.
McVicker
Early.
driving in, pivot, right-handed flush.
We'll also welcome in our HCTV viewers tonight as that one's turned over. It's nice having other stations along for the ride.
Yeah, we love collaboration. K-Flish with the air ball out of bounds. They're going to say it went off of Anna Green. We'll have a couple of players check in for Hastings. Monica Cheney.
We were talking a little bit about pregame. It's something really unique that not a lot of other states have with our community media systems and sharing files and feeds. It's great to help each other out.
Well, that's that Minnesota nice. You know, it's also crazy talking about, you know, you mentioned the youth movement of this team. And, they're on an incredible win streak as we'll get a three-point attempt off of back iron heading back the other way. Way too many Raiders defenders switched off. A little runner for two. Turned over right away on the inbound pass. Failed offensive rebound there from Frazier, and now things settle down, at least for a second here, for Hastings. Almost turned over that one off of the foot of McVickers. Tight pass. A little too hot on the entry, and a defensive rebound by Emily Metzel. Metzel, dead center, off to the near side wing. Frazier lurking, hands it off. Green puts up the three, a little off the mark. A defensive rebound swarmed. It's full court press working to great effect for Mahtomedi. Screen was set up there for McVickers. A very long three comes up short.
Sorry about that, bumped a button. I'm doing double duty tonight, folks, if you're watching at home. Doing some announcing and switching work, so apologize about that.
Well, it is definitely understandable. You got the hardest job in the building right now. But as I was talking about a little bit ago before we got interrupted by some interesting action, it's crazy, the youth movement and the win streak the Raiders are on. It's not inconceivable that this could really be a state contender. Well, maybe even this year, but certainly next year and the year after.
Exactly. You have a key core of young talent. Obviously, you have McVicker for another season. Haley Strain's here for another couple. Those are your two big pieces moving forward, but also you're building for the future, too. Like I said, with only one senior, there's a significant number of sophomores on this team, too. Kate Reuter, as well along Rachel Notch, who's quietly had a solid season. And I think Hastings Mahtomedi will be one to start watching for in the future as well if they can keep this going. And especially, too, we talked about with a sudden coaching change early in the season. They've strung it together really well, and the fact you're on an 8-game win streak, that says volume no matter who you're playing. And beating North St. Paul, too, in that streak, they're another top team in the conference, and that's nothing to sleep about.
No, and nearly beating them by 20 as we'll get a early whistle there against Hastings. I mean, what a great job by Trent Hansen. What a interesting situation for him to come in to, not being the head coach at the beginning of the year. Come in, it was early in the season, but, the season had been underway, and you're tasked with leading a team that, there are some expectations with, and, really pulled it together coming off the bench.
Exactly. And on top of that, too, having to be an athletic director, too, that's not something easy to manage as well, because that's already a demanding position in and out of itself, because you have to go to all the other teams' games and coach your own team. So kudos to him for managing all of it.
This is the fun part. This is the easy part. Just trying to coach a winning basketball team.
And there's a shot of Trent Hansen on your screen, alongside a few of the assistant coaches.
And you talk about some of those younger bench players. It'll be interesting with the Raiders throughout, many of their sports teams, football, basketball. They have such a next man up mentality that, there might be a player that explodes next year that is just seeing roll time minutes right now because that's where they are, in their high school progression. But, next, it could be Rachel Notch who becomes a part of the big three or becomes, I don't want to say superstar because as we'll get a two-pointer there from Mahtomedi. But, it could be one of those 10th graders that are seeing limited minutes.
Exactly, and one of the things I want to also commend the Raiders on too is, you lost two your big two, Lily Newton and Maggie Schlottman, but other pieces on this team have made up for the gap. Obviously, you have the big three, but they're working it into Lindsay Wagner as well, and working into these other pieces to kind of help make up that gap as well. Emma Baker's been fantastic. It can't just be one person when you're losing a college-level athlete.
Oh, yeah, unquestionably. And, you know, listen, this is not the NBA where you have 15 players as we get a timeout called on the court. You know, it's only a 10-person team, but they really do use every single player on the team. And I know that sounds kind of, well, duh. I mean, you know, there's 5 players on the court, you have 10 players on a roster, but there are plenty of teams, if you look around the Metro, where they play their 5 starters, you know, all but 5 minutes, and then maybe somebody else comes in. I mean, it's not unusual to not use all 10 players around the Metro. Like we were talking about, these two teams really could control this conference for, you know, at least the next couple of years, and everything circles back to these two teams. Obviously, the winner here takes the conference, or at least ties for the conference victory if Hastings wins. But Hastings is on an 8-game winning streak, because it looks like we might have a player banged up a little bit there on the far side. That's Monica Cheney.
She'll check out. We hope she's okay.
Walking off under her own power. Maybe she got dinged up a little bit.
She's heading over to the trash can, so.
Well, that wouldn't be the first time we've seen that trash can used from this gym.
Hopefully she's okay.
Wide open 3. Just a little off the mark. Falls right into the breadbasket of Strain, but stripped out. Now taken down the court by Maya Wilson. Open 3 in front of the Raiders bench. Synced in there by Ella Cletty. Few ticks north of 10 minutes to go here in the opening half. A runner good there from Keegan McVicker. Trying to keep the Raiders within a reasonable distance. Another open 3 in front of the Raiders bench. This time it takes a unfortunate Mahtomedi bounce. Got a player hitting the ground there for Hastings. That was Rachel Notch. And they'll give possession here to the Raiders. We'll get the quick inbound. McVicker on that far side in front of the student section. Got a couple of signs out there. Maybe we'll see what they say later on. Missed point blank shot, a pass that was either deflected or a little too short, and then it's turned over to Mahtomedi again. Third time's the charm there for Ella Cletty. Another 3, and they got to do something about that open wing shooter. Whatever configuration the Raiders defense is using, it's certainly not accounting for Cletty there in front of the Raiders bench.
And, you know, I don't hate leaving those open 3-point lanes open early in the game, but they're kind of proving that they can actually make those shots. So now's the time you have to adjust, be a little bit more aggressive on your defense. You can't let that lane open all night.
McVicker finding some space, nutmegs a defender on the assist to Haley Strain. I hope we can get a replay of that at some point, because that is a thing of beauty, as we'll get a foul here committed by Hastings.
Let's see if I got that right. I believe I got it.
Yeah, well, just watch this pass here. Oh, kind of glitched out a little bit there, at least on my screen, but a nutmeg bounce pass.
Let's give that another shot here. One moment. Let's see if I get it.
I mean, it was a great score, but it's always awesome when the assist and the setup is even better than the score.
You got most of the view on that.
Yeah, you get the gist of it.
Yeah, technology is not always your friend.
Well, it's skipped a beat. It's like we're looking at the Zapruder film or something. And another foul. The foul's kind of racking up here for both sides now with 4.
Like like I said, that's kind of in prior games we've seen Hastings run into some trouble is on with the fouls. So I believe that end of the Burnsville game, if I'm not mistaken, both teams were in the double bonus, and 2 minutes took like 45 minutes to get through.
Yeah, wow.
And you don't want to give up 3 points and let that gap get even wider. So right now it's manageable. There's still under 8 minutes left to go, but can't let it extend too much.
No, that's very true. Can't procrastinate too much.
But that's also where the benefit of basketball is a game of runs. If you get on a good one, you're right back into it. We saw that on Tuesday night for the boys. The Raiders got up to a, I believe, 12-2 lead at one point in the beginning of the game, and then it closed down.
Well, I mean, I've been calling games here for almost
about 3 years. You're close
like
to
3.5 years. 3 years. And that's been the story with this basketball team through its different iterations. It's always the runs. They're a very streaky team, and it seems like the difference this year is quite simply they go on runs and they don't allow as many runs as they have in years past. But you're right, basketball is certainly a game of runs. It's pretty rare that you see teams going back trading, 2 points for 2 points for extended stretches. And they certainly need a run here. Another open three. And that's going to go out of bounds as it hit the top of the backboard there.
As we see, Haley Strain checks out for the Raiders.
And that's always something to watch because she has such a presence down low. It's going to be very difficult for the Raiders to replace when she's not in there. McVicker is not in there either. So it'll have to be a different group of girls getting it done here on the next handful of possessions. Wagner's pass tipped, stolen away, some contact, and that's likely going to be the 5th foul on Hastings.
And we have a player down. Oh, she gets up okay. Maybe took an elbow somewhere you don't want to. There's a shot of the head coach for the Mahtomedi Zephyrs. Also, shout out to her. She actually came up to me pregame and gave us some of those pronunciations for us, so that helps us out a lot on the broadcast. It's hard to predict some of these trickier names, so thank you for that.
I always appreciate that because that's the hardest thing about this is incorrect rosters and no pronunciations.
Yeah, we ran into that trouble with football. A couple of mystery men made some big plays.
And that is very, very true. We don't know if they were even on the team, but yeah.
They pulled the bench warmers and Carlos.
They could, for all we know, they could have. I didn't see any identification. But you love that. I think the St. Croix Lutheran softball coach did that for us very early on in our time when we had to cover a game in Mendota Heights. It's always good to see coaches reach out because there's nothing worse than incorrectly attributing a positive play that somebody might want to put on a highlight tape or show their family, get their name wrong.
Yeah, and if anyone's watching online and if we mispronounce any names, please let us know and I'll check the comments as frequently as we can. But we should have them down decently.
Well, the lead hovering right around double digits for the last handful of minutes for Mahtomedi. Raiders have gotten a little bit sturdier on defense, but still having some trouble offensively. That being said, they give up a 2-pointer there to Anna Green. Long pass corralled by Sophia Swanson. Now here's Wagner looking to pass out. Swanson Motion there from Reuter. Now Baker gives it to Wagner. Wagner, a defender, closing in. Off the mark. Offensive rebound. The turnaround shot. A little bit off the mark. Goes off of the left side of the backboard. Now Green with a long outlet pass. Driving in. Trying to find some space. Out of bounds and off of the hands of Swanson. And we will get a timeout called on the court. It's going to be called by the Raiders.
Actually, we were getting some substitutions. Mass subs, Haley Strain and McVicker are back in the game. Need those two on the court to narrow this gap. It's still manageable, but you want to close that gap before half. Decent crowd on hand tonight as well. Nice to see some of the student athletes across the way. I think I see quarterback Danny Milner over there and star hockey player. Got some young kids in the audience as well.
I couldn't quite see what that says, but that looks like a beautifully made sign, and that was a beautiful runner there by McVicker. Defensive rebound, but it looks like
Gonna get a couple subs.
Kaflish stepped out of bounds. And especially a good crowd, too, considering isn't the play on tonight as well?
I'm not positive on that one. I saw signs on them, but I didn't actually read I didn't have time to read it. I was coming from a prior commitment.
Scramble for the ball. Somehow no whistle. I always love, it doesn't seem like there's an exact science to when you should blow the whistle on those scrums. Sometimes they literally turn into wrestling matches, which I think would favor the Raiders historically, but I don't know. It's like blowing the whistle in football. I don't know.
I was just about to say that. We kind of saw that a few times where they let a play go on a little too long. And you can see how some of those girls kind of whip back and forth. You wouldn't be surprised if someone gets clocked. You do got to be a little careful. But we also got to thank our officiating crew tonight, too. There's still a shortage in the Minnesota State High School League for those. To quote our friend at the Journal, Bruce Karnick, if you think you know everything, why don't you sign up to be an official? And that's, honestly, I kind of hold that opinion, too.
Gosh, I mean, they certainly could use them. And we've seen pretty awesome reffing for pretty much every sport that we've done. You do have to shout out the refs. Doesn't mean they're perfect, but I think they've done a good job, at least for the games we've covered. Lead growing here to 13 for Mahtomedi. McVicker just weaving her way through that defense, misses the shot. And foul committed there by Mahtomedi, so Strain is going to the head to the line. Time very quickly dwindling here in the first half. 3:21 to go. Strain missing her first free throw.
Yeah, in their first matchup, Mahtomedi won 77-63, so they had a double-digit victory earlier in the season. And, you know, it's been a long time since then. You hope something's changed. It's actually been pretty much a month, only a day apart. But got to close the gap a little bit more. Still close enough to manage, however.
And since that game on January 18th, these two teams have a combined record, I think, of 17-0. Neither team has lost a game since that last appearance. Because Hastings is on an 8-game win streak. Mahtomedi, that was the first game in their current 9-game win streak. So both of these teams have just really turned it on. Look at that. Different colors, a glittery edge.
Yep, I think some of those are some of the hockey boys down there. Great to see.
I mean, no matter what school you're at, you always want to see student athletes showing out for student athletes. It's always a little bit, people might, maybe people they're studying for homework or something, not every time it's a red flag, but, when you don't see student athletes showing up at games, it's always a concern when I see that at different schools.
Is that layup nearly they can't get that to go. But to go off that too, why I have so much respect for Trent Hansen, I've talked about it on other broadcasts. He does something pretty unique in terms of athletic directors. He basically, sorry, one moment. Caught in a switching loop. What do I cut to? He basically has every sport team up with another sport, and they have to attend each other's events once a season. So it's kind of forced, not forced, but it's encouraged team support, which I think is something really cool on top of asking teams to participate in community events. He does a lot for this Hastings community, and it's really cool to see on the athletic level.
Yeah, he's the Hastings Swiss Army knife, because he just kind of does a little bit of everything, or a lot of everything. 3-point response there from Hastings, or excuse me, from Mahtomedi. Kind of killing some of the momentum that Hastings had there. Hastings is currently in the bonus.
You look at that last three-pointer.
But they're only one foul away from putting Mahtomedi in the bonus.
Mahtomedi playing some aggressive defense as they get the turnover. Turnover right back, too.
Aggressive defense all around. 3 turnovers in just about 3 seconds. I don't know what's going on here. Driving in down along the baseline. Stopped by Strain. Dished it out. Running past Strain. And Ella Cletty gets the 2 points. 16-point lead for Mahtomedi. Hastings certainly has their work cut out for them. Strain bobbling the ball. Now a full court press defense there from Hastings, as Mahtomedi is going to draw the foul, and now they're going to enter the bonus. Very hectic action going on here in the last 90 seconds. A little more than 90 seconds to go before halftime. Cletty makes the first of the 1-and-1. And she makes the second. Mahtomedi with nearly twice as many points as Hastings. That's not a good factoid if you're a fan of the Raiders. Strain showing off her physicality, puts up the jumper from the elbow. Still got a player down for Mahtomedi. A 3-pointer made there by Lindsey Wagner. That is certainly going to help cut into that gap for Hastings, as we'll get a stoppage in the play.
Can't tell what number that is offhand. That will be number 10. That is Emily Metzel. Gets up a little gingerly, but hopefully it's nothing serious. You never want any serious injury in the Minnesota State High School League.
No, certainly not. Not walking off under her own power. Stayed down and did not try to get up after she went down. But, you know, hopefully she's all right. We've seen some pretty tremendous turnarounds. I mean, I thought that McVicker was done in that game a few weeks ago, and she came back in and played well. So we'll keep an eye on that as we return back to action. 60 seconds to go here before halftime. A 3-point shot with McVicker closing in, but they couldn't get the defensive rebound, and that's going to be a 2-pointer for Mahtomedi. The Raiders running out of time. Tight defense pressed on there by Ella Frazier. Now the long cross-court pass here to McVicker, who looks to pass over to a jumping Emma Baker. Drives down right down the middle and puts in that two-handed bucket. Back to 15, no shot clock. Final year we can say that, so Mahtomedi could hold on for one last shot if they wanted to, or they could get aggressive there. A little too much motion, and that's going to result in a turnover. The Raiders got to pump this one up. McVicker unsuccessful there on the final heave before halftime, and with that, we have reached halftime here in this highly anticipated matchup between the Raiders and the Zephyrs. It's a 42-27 equation in favor of the road team here on HCTV Sports. Hello everyone and welcome back to Hastings High School as we get set for the second half between the Hastings Raiders and the Mahtomedi Zephyrs here for some girls basketball action here on Friday night. It's a 42-27 lead for Mahtomedi over Hastings as we are just a minute away from tip-off. I'm Owen Ely here with my broadcast partner for the night and producer Hunter Pinkey.
Yeah, before we kick it back into our broadcast, we want to remind our viewers HCTV Sports is supported by the Hastings Public House. Memories made local. Thank you for supporting HCTV Sports. We need you guys. It's community media. People cut cable, and we need as many sponsors as we can get, so we really appreciate it. So we didn't get a chance to look at it before the game, but here's a look at the Metro East Conference standings. Mahtomedi is at the top with an 11-0 record, 16-5 overall. Hastings is just below them, 10-1 record, 16-7 overall. Hastings' one conference loss is against Mahtomedi, and they beat a good North St. Paul team last week, or a few weeks ago, and they've been on a heck of a run ever since then, winning 8 straight. And I think Owen mentioned it earlier in the game. Both teams had an absurd record if you combine them during that span since their last game on the 18th.
I mean, these are the two clear-cut teams in this section, two clear-cut best teams. Might be two of the best teams in the Metro right now. I mean, the way they're playing, it's certainly Mahtomedi tonight. I mean, leading by 15, but the Raiders are a second-half team, so we'll see if they can't work their way back into this one.
And there's still a lot of time. You're not in panic mode quite yet. You still have 17 and a half minutes to go. You just got to start chipping away at that lead a little bit.
And look at the bench there for Hastings, ready to explode.
And that's one thing about the Raiders. Their bench does get loud and noisy. They support each other. And that's one of the great things about Raider sports is just how supportive their bench is.
Well, and that's, as that ball goes out of bounds, it's going to remain with Hastings. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, you can, in a small way, impact the game even if you're not playing by being a good teammate on the bench, cheering. Two-pointer there for Strain. You know, anybody who thinks that they don't have something to do on the bench is mistaken. Now the Raiders looking for their second defensive stop in a row here in the second half. Some shifty guard play there from Mahtomedi. We will get a whistle as they enter the short corner.
Catholic is credited with the foul. Thank you, Mr. Dick Craig, PA announcer and the stat keeper for this girls team. One of the best in the business. Does the football stat keeping too.
We got a lot of people here with multiple jobs.
Absolutely. It's just kind of a given. Yeah. You work hard and you wear many different hats, so you have the experiences. That three-pointer is good.
Emma Baker, one of the big three, averaging 11 points on the season with a three-pointer there. A windmill underhanded shot there goes in for number 14, Maya Wilson. Using those long arms on that shot, and Mahtomedi will match the one foul in the second half here for the Raiders, and there's that three-point shot.
And that's one of the Raiders. What ways the Raiders can get back in there is if they can drain some of those threes. They've left a little bit of those lanes open, but they just haven't gotten the drops.
Well, Hastings is certainly a team, as they'll turn the ball over, that can make a three-point shot. A little bit too hot. Defensive rebound, McVicker, who has 7 rebounds. Averages 7 rebounds on the season, which is just absurd for a point guard.
And when you're the tallest player on the team or second place taller on the team, you're kind of going to be looked to for getting those rebounds. I think the only player taller than her is Haley Strain, and she's at 6'2". So you got to use that height to your advantage.
I mean, she's a complete basketball player. I mean, there's nothing that she doesn't do.
And like one of the things I want to talk about too, I was talking about this on a hockey broadcast the other night too. It feels like McVicker's been on this team for ages. I was talking about it in the context of South St. Paul's goalie, Delaney Norman. She's a senior and she's been a 5-year starter. And I believe McVicker started playing as an 8th grader, if I'm not mistaken, or either as a freshman. But it feels like we've been calling her name a lot.
She played as an 8th grader because she was here my first year at HCTV. I've never called a basketball game without Keegan McVicker. And yeah, that Delaney Norman is Delaney Norman played as a 7th grader too, so she
was on that roster. Yeah, she just didn't start till 8th grade.
Yeah, because they had another really good goaltender.
South St. Paul's hockey program is insane for the girls' side.
Oh, it's unbelievable. It really is.
But also congrats to them for punching their ticket to the state tournament earlier this week. Last night they beat Simley, I believe, 3-1. But that was a tight one. And the funny thing I was talking to them about, some of the Town Square folks, is they got swept by Simley in the regular season, but they haven't lost, or South St. Paul hasn't lost to Simley in the postseason in years, if ever, which is really weird to think about. But the fact that you're winning when it counts is all that matters, really, at the end of the day.
And that game counts, twice as much because that's such a rivalry game as well. I mean, working around here, I always root for Hastings. Try to stay a little bit objective, but root for Hastings. There are some teams you like more than others, but I'm really rooting for South St. Paul, the girls team. If the Raiders can't win anything, I root for the Packers. So we'll get a 2-pointer there from Hastings because that's just a program that deserves it.
A lot of good rivalries in the Metro East, and I really hope this one slowly gains some traction over the next years like we were talking earlier.
Well, there's a lot of good rivalries that you wouldn't exactly know about because the conferences don't make any sense.
Another 3-pointer by
number
Mahtomedi
3.
Zephyrs. Their shooting outside the arc has been very good tonight.
It's very hard to come back when the opposing team is just draining threes because you're going to have to hit some threes of your own and you're going to have to get some defensive stops, which is
hit one.
easier said than done, but there's Emma Baker doing it. Almost back to within single digits, which is certainly an improvement from where this game was before the end of the second half, but that one just beautifully tossed up there, rolls around the rim. Anna Green, low-key, one of the best players on this Mahtomedi team tonight.
Nice pass inside for a opportunity. Can't get it to go and gets it to go. Crazy sequence, but the Raiders' passing has been pretty solid so far tonight. Just got to get some of these to drop.
Handful of quick passes. They'll miss that 3-pointer. A double team down low on a Raiders player. Now the Raiders within single digits. Slowly but Kafflish dishes it into that near side corner, assisting it to Haley Strain. And that's going to be a timeout for Mahtomedi as they could feel that run just working its way in favor of Hastings. Both of these teams, that's going to be a timeout for Hastings.
Yeah, pretty big momentum swing to get it within 10 once again. That's huge. This is a manageable number with still 12 minutes left to go. And this is the dangerous part where these big runs can pop off. Make a couple threes, you cut that lead over in half. So, but while we also have a pause in the action, I want to take a minute to remind our viewers of our next broadcast. A lot of basketball action coming up these last few weeks. We had the boys taking on Hill Murray on the 21st at 7 p.m. It's been fun getting to watch them. They played a tough one on Wednesday night versus the South St. Paul Packers, who they're just such a good boys basketball team. And, you know, I was talking to a few people, and they said they're rebuilding. They're not going to be very good. If very good is having a, 18-5 record after that night, I'll take that any year. You know what I mean?
Talking to a couple people, so how was Toby?
Well, a few South St. Paul fans, a few Toby included, but if that's your definition of a bad season, you're going to be said, okay. I was talking to Tim Hanneberg, too, about that for our wrestling announcer, Kyle. He said our wrestling team might have a little bit of trouble in the future years, but still making the state tournament, so.
What a crazy Willie Mays type of backhanded shot there from Tori Jesperson. I was just very surprised at that St. Paul Packers team, as we got a hard collision out into the track. McVicker shaking up a little bit.
Let's see what happened on that one. Yep, she got hit. So McVicker will go to the line.
Probably the best free throw shooter, all-around shooter, but free throw shooter for Hastings. And I was very surprised that Packers boys team didn't win a championship when they had Alonzo Dodd and a couple of those California transfers a couple of years ago. I thought they had a really, really special team.
Yeah, he's a good player. He's now playing, I believe, D1 ball.
Shame the Gophers didn't give him an offer.
You think Minnesota teams would be more in favor of getting some local guys?
No, we'll just take Florida players. we don't need local guys.
Well, that was a very unfortunate rim out.
We'll let Wisconsin take all of our local guys.
Oh, well, close enough, I suppose.
All right, that's all Wisconsin. That's all the Badgers do is they take our four-star basketball players.
As she gets that second one to drop, 10-point advantage. Still doable for the Raiders, but they still got to get to work.
I mean, I always compare it to homework. I mean, you can procrastinate it pretty long, but at some point you start, crunching the numbers, and at some point you got to truly turn it on and get the work done.
And as a baseball guy, my coach always said, get one run an inning. If you're down 5, if you just get one run an inning, that's a lot more manageable. As we get a turnover and jump ball, that doesn't go back to Raider possession.
Well, I mean, you were pretty much down by 20. Okay, well, let's get down by 15. Let's get down by 10. Let's get to single digits. It's trending the right way, kind of stalling out a little bit on these last handful of possessions, however.
But they're getting a lot of opportunities at the line, and this is one opportunity for them to chip their way back into this game.
No, I mean, that's a very good point. And, the bonus matters in the first half as well, but certainly the bonus matters a little bit more in the second half as well.
Get a shot. Have that sign once again. It's hard to make out what they read, but it's nice to see little Raiders in the stands.
It's an aesthetically pleasing sign. That's all I know. A little bit of swinging of the arms there for Anna Green as she just kind of swings her way to a bucket. Lead remains at 10. McVicker misses that layup underneath the basket, going back the other way. Fast break point there for Sonia Pothoff. Turns it over, a three-pointer. Out of bounds off of the left hand of McVicker.
Let's take a look at that last score. Yeah, a lot of separation. Nice job on Mahtomedi.
Such an evenly matched game between these two teams. I mean, I know it's now a 15-point lead, but like we were talking about in the first half, but certainly, at halftime, the difference in this game for me is just, you know, that early full court press defense that allowed them to have pretty much 15 points. I mean, that's kind of the difference in the game. Certainly there's been runs up and down for both teams, but, you know, if the Raiders could figure out how to break that full court press sooner, I mean, we might have a tie game right now.
As we get Swanson checking in for the Raiders.
An excellent three-point shooter if she's left open. We've seen that a handful of times this season. Pass intended for Reuter, tipped, taken by Green. Now Frazier flings it down the court. They are just acrobatic down along that baseline. However, they will turn the ball over. Open three-point shot, and the three-point make there from Lindsay Wagner. Certainly has more points than 5.2 in this game, which is what her season average was entering this matchup.
Looked like she ran right into a wall. Strain didn't move at all as we take a look at that last three-pointer. Nice shot.
When they're open, you got to make them. And that's what she did. Bit of a questionable call for the third foul in this half for Hastings. At least that's the opinion of the crowd.
Like I said, if crowds think they can do a better job, they should become officials too.
You know, maybe it should be like those game shows where you get to vote, and everybody in the attendance gets to vote if it was a foul or not.
That would be a good alternative to not having instant replay. Maybe go to a crowd review.
I mean, you know, I think we'd see a higher attendance. Not that attendance is bad tonight. It's actually one of the highest attendances we've had all year. But I think that, you know, fan interaction, I think that would get people more invested.
Catholic inbounds. Nice jumper that can't go.
Raiders, unfortunately, have been missing a lot of these point-blank shots. And then it's 50-50 whether they get the rebound, and another fast break bucket for Sonia Pothoff.
Like I said, it looks like they have the height advantage inside the arc, but Mahtomedi's just so quick to respond, they can't gain control.
Yeah, I mean, Strain's the tallest player on the court. She's really good down low, but I think with another year of experience next year, maybe she'll have, you know, an increased awareness down low in those certain situations. Scramble for the ball. Swanson came flying in from center court.
Catholic gets set to inbound. A couple of their subs checking in.
Mahtomedi still with all 5 of their timeouts, and we have 8.5 to go. Usually we see the Raiders kind of employing that strategy. They rarely take a first half timeout. Took one in the first half and then kind of inexplicably took a timeout while they were on that run. I don't know what you make of that timeout. I thought it was Mahtomedi who took the timeout to stop that initial run when they got to within like 8.
And you know, it could, I obviously didn't see the other game. It could just be they're trying to mix up their strategy a little bit. As you said, we typically know what the Raiders do for their timeout, so maybe they're just trying to mix it up, keep it fresh from the first time these guys met. Another deep
Quick
one.
trigger 3. Zero hesitation there from Maya Wilson.
Yeah, that's kind of expected with 4 10-point scorers on your team.
It's been so tough tonight to figure out who's the best player on Mahtomedi, but I can tell you this, they don't have a bad player on the court.
And if that's how you're running your team, you know you have potential to make a deep playoff run. You got to look at that another three-pointer.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we don't have to think about motion. We don't have to think about plays. We don't have to think about anything. If you can just make 3-pointers from, 4 feet beyond the arc, I mean, you're golden. Green drives in. Couldn't quite see what happened. Bit of an obstructed view, however. Obviously, there is a whistle. And we will get the inbound here from Wilson. Sends it up, nearly stripped away from Kaflish. And a travel call against Green. Raiders down by 18. Certainly the comeback has to start in rapid succession if it is to come. Got a player tripped. Possession's going to stay with Hastings, according to that referee on the left side of the court.
And Owen, you have a little bit more basketball experience than I do. In your opinion, what time on the clock is like panic mode for the Raiders? Obviously, you need to step it up now, but are they in panic mode yet?
I mean, it's tough because it's like there is enough time with 7 minutes to go to come back, but is there enough time with 7 minutes to go to make 1 mistake, 2 mistakes? Would 3 mistakes end it? Like, I would be panicking a little bit right now. I mean, I wouldn't be panicking because you don't ever want to panic, but in terms of their probability of winning this game and the way it's going, yeah, they kind of have to start right now. And they'll get the 2-pointer, so that's going to bring them over 50. We're going to get a 2-point response from Mahtomedi. We're going to get that 3rd timeout called by Hastings.
Take a quick look at that last basket by McVicker. Yeah, nice job to get separation. Nice move on the inside the arc, too, to get that up to drop. And just to remind our viewers, HCTV Sports is supported by the Hastings Public House. Memories made local. Without these guys, we wouldn't be broadcasting tonight. It's been a huge help for us. We're still looking for sponsors for spring if any businesses are interested, or we can take them for fall 23. We'll take them for whatever season you desire, and we're happy to work with you as a business.
And the beauty about sponsoring HCTV Sports is that, because this is such a tight-knit community, I mean, it's pretty good viewership. It's pretty good eyeballs.
One of the best sports communities in the metro area, in my opinion.
I think you're right. And I think Keegan McVicker's right as she is steady and true on that 3-point shot. Back to within 15. Green tried to split 2 defenders and they'll call a foul on Hastings.
Yeah, nice. I like that little fake out move. Good job by Keegan McVicker to get him to bite.
It's a game of inches. I mean, whatever advantage you can take.
But you can't immediately go back to the line after you get some sort of advantage. And like I said, this is kind of where I see the Raiders get in trouble, is just foul trouble late in games. It's got to play a little bit cleaner.
Well, the good news for the Raiders, if they end up losing this game, which in all likelihood, I mean, they're down by 16, but, weirder things have happened, is they went on quite a streak after they lost to Mahtomedi the first time. So, maybe they can learn from this game and, maybe they can go on quite a run in the section playoffs and, who knows what this team can accomplish.
Yeah, the rest of the way for the Raiders are conference games, so they have another opponent, Hill Murray, coming to town. Hill Murray has been pretty tough in previous years. I'd have to look at the standings again to see where they stand. And then they end with Simley, and Simley's having a weirdly down year. They graduated a lot of seniors, but they've had a little bit of a tough time this year.
Well, we got one player taking a spin into the brick wall over there. Yeah, that Simley team is another team that a couple of years ago was really, really good with the Danzo sisters.
I was going to say Chomp was on that team forever, too. She must have been a 5-year starter as well. I remember seeing her for at least 4 years between here, Town Square, and all over.
That was the team that got stopped by the pandemic. That was one of the last games before everything shut down.
Were you on the call for that?
I was, yep.
Yep, I was camera for that one. It's
Yep, it wasn't Williams, but it was the arena next to Williams.
the pavilion.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep, and they played De La Salle.
De La Salle's always been a pretty tough team.
Oh yeah, that was a tough first round matchup, but boy, that team was so good. Haley Strain at the line, misses it. 2-pointer right off of the miss. That's the second time this game that's happened for the Raiders where it's just been kind of fortuitous that they've missed a free throw because they just gained the offensive rebound and put it in for 2.
And like I said, I'm not the big basketball guy, but is that a strategy ever employed? Just if you get to shoot 2, to let the second one miss, just so you can have an opportunity to reset?
Not really.
It could be a bold strategy. Maybe they should try it.
I've seen it happen a couple of times late in games where you're down by 2 or something and you're at the line to shoot your final free throw. That would make sense. Or intentionally bricking the free throw, just like hucking it against the backboard so it comes back. I've seen that, but I think it should be used more often. But I guess I don't know. Maybe coaches look down on it because it's like the basketball version of like a trick play.
I mean, it doesn't hurt to be creative in games. It's something you don't want to run every week, but it's just something you can maybe use to catch them off guard if you just fire. I don't know how much momentum you can get from a standing position, but that's a jump ball.
Well, I think the best case scenario is it just happens organically, because I don't think it was intentional the 2 times the Raiders did it tonight. But, I mean, obviously when you get to a high enough level, I mean, those 2 rebounders for the opposing team, they're going to, unless they're sleeping at the wheel, which is possible, they're going to rebound that most of the time. Another foul drawn by Mahtomedi. That's going to send Ella Cletty to the line. One of the team captains. Just a junior, so she'll be back next year.
Once again, we want to welcome the HCTV viewers as well. Thanks for joining us tonight. So help and support the Mahtomedi crowd too.
Yeah, we like HCTV. We do a lot of collaborating with them on a lot of our games.
Yeah, it was unfortunate though. I was talking with their sports director over there. They were actually going to cover Hastings Mahtomedi boys tonight, so we were going to trade games and have this run on the other channel as that one drops by Baker. We were going to actually trade games tonight, but due to announcing shortage, they had to change their plans a little bit.
Oh, that's unfortunate. That would have been really cool.
Yeah, we've done it before with Town Square when Simley has been in town and we've been away. As we get a substitution for the Zephyrs, that's Pier. We're slowly inching a little bit closer, but Jets need to come on here in the Final Four.
Yeah, you got that right. McVicker passing it down low. Strain, turnaround, left-handed flush. Back to within 10.
I like that they're being a little bit more aggressive inside the arc, and I think she took that ball to the face on that one. Ouch. Hopefully she doesn't have a bloody nose, but...
Well, hopefully she didn't break her nose, because it's always the hits you never see coming that kind of hurt the most.
Yep, she's heading to the locker room. We'll see what happened on that one.
She stuck her leg out and she kicked the ball into her face, or maybe it was kicked off of Green.
I think it went off her. I do think it went off her foot.
Well, that's what the call on the court was, so certainly the refs feel that way.
It took a very funny bounce, though, as the Raiders are back on the attack.
Yeah, it was like a pinball.
This is the second game I think we've seen McVicker have to leave with a bloody nose. Because there was a game, I don't know if it was North St. Paul or a different game, but we had a few players leave with bloody noses and have to come back.
Well, maybe she'll return with one of those like LeBron James carbon fiber masks.
Get a Bane mask.
I think that's the way to go. Three-pointer just misses the mark, out of bounds, and they're going to say it's off a strain. So 3:10 to go. We don't know if McVicker's going to come back in the game. That's the best player for Hastings. So if the Raiders want to come, how's this for a proposition? You're down by 10. You want to win tie the section. You got to come back double digits without your best player 3 minutes.
That's going to be incredibly tough. Like I said, most of the offense runs through her, a little bit through Strain, but they look for her to be the leader of this team. But I was going to say, too, before she left the game, and I think this will be the key for the Raiders to get back into this one, is I liked how they, rather than going for those threes deep, they were trying to aggressively get more of those layups, and they're getting them to drop. Because a lot of times you see teams do the panic threes, and we've seen it a little bit with the boys team. Just they really want to focus on their shooting but throw up a three-pointer. But you should be attacking the arc and chipping away at this deficit rather than going all for one, which I think is the right move in this situation.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, you got to go with the high percentage plays if you want to make a comeback. I mean, even if you're a great three-point shooting team, I mean, what are you you're going to shoot the three-pointer at what, 38, 39, 40%. So, the majority of your three-point shots you're going to end up missing. So it's, I don't know, it's three-pointers are a part of a comeback, but it's just kind of hard to force something that's a low percentage play in the grand scheme of things.
And once you get this deficit a little bit closer, if you're like 6 points out, then you can maybe start trying to take some of those shots. But down a little bit over 10, you got to play a little bit more conservative, especially with 2.5 left to go. And then that goes back to another conversation we could have. Shot clock, that's not here yet. So Mahtomedi can, if they really want to, they can just, honestly, just pass the ball bound as much as they want.
Yeah, they could. I don't think that's what they're going to do. They don't seem like that type of team, but
we see that with a lot of other teams in the Metro East, or not Metro East, but just in the Metro in general. And as you see the new shot clock, it is implemented already. They aren't using it. It's in place and ready for 2023.
And McVicker's coming back to the sideline. We don't know if she'll be back in the game. Probably a little too much, a little too late here as they'll turn it over, down by 13. 2:15 to go. An emphatic block, but it is going to be a foul on Rachel Notch.
Yeah, we'll take a look at that last sequence. Yep, that. Tough play.
Well, definitely clubbed the arm. There certainly was contact on that, but I mean, it's either 2 points or you go to the line for the potential of 2 points. So
McVicker does check back into the game. She's got the cotton ball in her nose.
A+ grit from Keegan McVicker. I mean, we've seen her get hurt. I really didn't think she was going to come back in that one game where she hurt her knee, but she is one tough customer. Miss on the timing on that offensive rebound from Strain, and McVicker, nobody told her this game is out of reach, and we'll get a breakaway two-pointer there for Mahtomedi. At this point, it's Just trying to make the box score look a little prettier. Contact from behind.
That'll send straight into the line.
Both teams in the bonus. Mahtomedi 1 away from the double bonus.
There's a shot of head coach Trent Hansen.
Mahtomedi still with all 5 timeouts. Hunter, what do you think they're going to do with those? Are they going to take them home?
I think they take them home. There's not a lot of reason, I think, to burn them in this situation. Unless somehow we get the magical comeback, then they might burn one. But
do they know that they're not like phone minutes? They don't carry over. They can't use those. They can't have 10 timeouts in their next game.
You know, how interesting would that make basketball? You know, that would put a lot into play, because then you'd have some of these like teams that struggle. If you know you're going to lose bad, you can just bank them for the matchups. You know, that would make it a very interesting high school league season if that were possible.
I'm kind of for it. I mean, they're your timeouts. Choose how you use them.
Or maybe it could be like some other things. You can only carry, like a job, how you can only carry over so many vacation days into the next year. You can only carry so many timeouts. You can carry like 3 timeouts into the next game or something.
You're kind of talking me into this, to be honest. I mean, it might be a nightmare for us if we have, 16 timeouts used between both teams. But
yeah, I don't know if my graphic will have that many lines.
We'll have to have Bruce just stat keep it, just another stat for him.
Yeah. Did I ever tell you about the fun game we have? It's kind of a running joke on the production crews, because Bruce with the Journal, he goes to all so many, as we get another free throw, Bruce goes to so many different athletic events. We always try to play Where's Waldo, but where's Bruce? At some point in the broadcast, we always try to find him on the production side and just see where he is. I haven't actually seen him tonight. Actually, I found him. He's on the rail tonight. I haven't seen him on camera yet, but we always play Where's Bruce. It's kind of a fun joke we have.
He's like a ghost. He haunts this place. I mean, he's just everywhere at all times.
Like I said, most times we see him down on the track, but not tonight. Or the lower track, I should say.
Well, that shot's going to be waved off. Under 40 seconds to go. Mahtomedi is going to advance to 17-5, 12-0 in the conference. The Raiders are going to fall to 16-8, 10-2 in the conference. That means Mahtomedi will win the section. There's Bruce.
There he is. Hi, Bruce.
Trying to get some nice shots.
Yeah.
8-game win streak is going to be broken for Hastings. Their last 2 losses coming by way of Mahtomedi, and now this is going to be a 10-game winning streak for the Mahtomedi Zephyrs.
And I don't think if you're a Raiders fan, you should feel too disheartened by this. Mahtomedi is a very good team, one of the top teams in their section. And, you did some things well in this game, but the other benefit is you don't have to play them again for this section. You're going to have a tough time with Rosemont, who you will most likely have to deal with, which was last time it was a 33-64, but their offense is humming a lot more than they were back then. So I think they've built and found their identity enough that they'll make that more competitive.
Yeah, you just hope they learned from the 2 games against Mahtomedi. I mean, you hope it's like swinging a weighted bat. You play Mahtomedi. I mean, you don't really have a choice. They're on the schedule. But, you play Mahtomedi a couple of times. You get to the section. You face a team that's still good but not as good as Mahtomedi. And, maybe it ends up going your way. Either way, these are 2 programs to watch, not just for the remainder of this year, but, for the coming years. But today on February 17th, it's going to go the way of the Mahtomedi Zephyrs as they're going to cinch this one up, a 20-point lead, winning this 83-63 on the road as they'll take the section and they will break the Raiders' impressive 8-game winning streak.
And yeah, like I said, there's a lot to look forward to coming up. And I think one of the benefits, section time is right around the corner for basketballs. We're already getting there for boys hockey, which starts next week. But girls is not too far behind for the basketball side. And I think one benefit is they should be able to host a section game. Obviously, sometimes it gets a little hairy with our section seedings. We don't get seated where we properly should. I think the girls faced that last year, but I think it's pretty clear this year, I think, from what they've shown. They should be able to host a section game and hopefully take on an equal strength opponent. But a lot to look forward to still with this Raiders team. Some things to build on, but overall, I don't think they should be too beaten down about this loss.
Totally agree, and I think it really comes down to the full court press. I mean, what did I say? That was the difference between like 15 points. They lost by 20. It was a very competitive game. So with that, we'll wrap it up. Raiders losing to Mahtomedi 83-63. A shout out to Hunter Pinky, Owen Ely, Max Slocum, Ian Andrusek, and Will Celine. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. This has been HCTV Sports.